Joining me right now, we have MSNBC White House correspondent Laura Barone and Capitol Hill reporter Kevin Fry, along with Shaniqua McClendon, Vice President Political Strategy at Crooked Media, and former Florida representative and MSNBC political analyst Carlos Curbelo. It's a big panel here. Laura, I want to pick up with something that Yamisha just said. When the president told her that, yeah, we're going to be, getting rid of a lot of people, but I'd rather not do that, can't he tell OMB Director Russ Vought, don't do that?
Good point, Alex. Yes, he can. They do not have to fire federal employees as a result of a shutdown. And as Yamish pointed out, that is typically not what happens. Federal employees are put on furlough for a time and they will not receive paychecks during that time. And so that is something that definitely hurts those employees, some of whom live paycheck to paycheck and rely on that money. But this is not something they have to do. It though matches with what the administration has been doing since President Trump took office, which is to dramatically shrink the size of the government, to gut agencies, some entirely, like USAID, because of the fact that the administration, that President Trump has wanted to do this for a long time. Russ Vought, his OMB director, has wanted to do this for a long time. Russ Vought said during the campaign trail that they wanted to traumatize federal workers. So right now it appears as though they're using the shutdown as an excuse to move forward with more of those firings.
But Laura, why is he taking this meeting, the one he canceled before on Thursday? Because we're almost at the 11th hour here with regard to when this government will shut down. Did he think that Democrats would cave earlier or something?
I think the president did think that Democrats would cave, especially since Democrats in the past, during Trump's first administration, they didn't necessarily always hold out. As we've talked about before, it's all about who has a higher pain tolerance, and President Trump is known to have a pretty high one. He doesn't appear to at all, whether it's in his comments to Yamish or his comments that he's made publicly in the last week, to be willing to negotiate. He has called Democrats' demands totally unreasonable. Democrats, meanwhile, are warning that millions of Americans stand to lose in healthcare insurance. And the one difference here, I think, between his first administration, when they were in shutdown fights, and even in March, when Democrats had the opportunity to potentially also use a shutdown as leverage against the president, is the environment that the country is in right now. And that is that Democrats' approval rating is incredibly low, and they're hearing over and over again from their voters that they want them to do something to fight the administration. And that is, I think, a bigger X factor than President Trump has faced in the past.
So, Kevin, Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries says Mike Johnson told him there had been a conversation between Republican leadership and the president. Do you know anything about the content of that talk? And did they say, hey, you need to have this meeting because otherwise, if the government shuts down, we're the ones who actually walked away?
I mean, that seems to be part of kind of what this was the setup for this meeting that's coming up on Monday, because there was let's just say that when Trump backed out of that meeting last week, it gave Democrats a major talking point. They were able basically to say that we are here, we are ready to negotiate. The president wants to walk away. He basically, Jeffries went so far as during his press conference last week to basically say, what are you afraid, bro, to kind of use his parlance. So there's this chance to have this engagement. We'll see if anything comes of it. I mean, I am reminded, though, if you look back to 2018, it was a different set of leaders. It was Schumer and Nancy Pelosi at the time. There was another conversation right in the lead up to another shutdown, and Democrats ended up kind of walking away with a victory from that, because that was where Trump more or less said, if there's a shutdown, I will take complete blame for this.
Shaniqua, the Republican line here has consistently been, this is just a short-term continuing resolution. Let's just keep spending levels the same as earlier this year. What's the best Democratic response to that?
They passed a bill earlier this year, and the White House sent over rescissions that changed the bill that they had actually passed. So I think Democrats are right to be skeptical that this is, a straightforward piece of legislation that won't come back with some changes later. But also, Democrats are trying to restore before they are gone healthcare benefits for folks. I don't think a lot of Americans who are on Medicaid realize that these changes are coming and they might not have access to health insurance. And so Democrats are doing what our entire federal government should be doing and making sure that Americans are taken care of. Donald Trump and Republicans seem to not care about that. And I do think it's worth fighting for that right now, instead of making people actually suffer and then trying to come back with something that probably won't be as good.
And Carlos, House Majority Leader Steve Scalise responded today to the administration's threats of mass firings of government workers if the shutdown happens. Listen to what he said.
There's been a need for a right sizing of the federal government for a long time. President Trump's talked about that with DOGE and other things he's doing to try to save waste, fraud, and abuse in government. And I think everybody knows there are billions and tens of billions of dollars in waste, fraud, and abuse that still needs to be rooted out. We got to some of that, but there's more that needs to be done.
But, you know, this administration has repeatedly hired back workers that were fired by the initial DOGE cuts, you know, like losing their job was just some kind of inconvenience to them. Just this week, hundreds were rehired. So is that threat slightly hollow? Carlos, put your microphone up, my friend. Carlos, yeah. That's okay. It happens all the time.
You got it? No, it's not me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Anyway, Democrats are in a tough position here. Typically, the party that withholds votes in one of these shutdown scenarios tends to pay the price with the public because the swing voters, the centrist voters, don't like shutdowns, period. However, if the Trump administration does go through with these unnecessary firings, laying off a ton of federal workers, if that ends up disrupting some key federal functions, they could end up handing this issue over to the Democrats. So, yes, there have been many cuts already. I'm sure some of them were justified, but as you've said, they have now started rehiring people because guess what? The federal government does do some very important things and we need people to do them. So Democrats are in a tough position here, but if Republicans go too far, if the administration goes too far with this threat of firing people, then this could backfire and end up giving Democrats an upper hand on an issue where I think they're going to be on defense.